At the age of 95, Clint Eastwood openly admitted, "She was the only one who could do that to me." Born Clinton Eastwood Jr. on May 31, 1930 in San Francisco, California, he grew up during the Great Depression. His modest upbringing shaped a resilient character and instilled in him a strong work ethic. Because his father worked as both a steel worker and a migrant laborer, the family moved frequently across California. These formative years taught young Eastwood the importance of perseverance, humility, and independence, qualities that would eventually define not only his screen persona, but also his real-life demeanor. Eastwood first achieved recognition in the late 1950s when he was cast as Rowdy Yates in the television western series Rawhide. Running from 1959 to 1965, the show gave him his first taste of fame. Yet his true leap into international stardom came in the mid-1960s when he collaborated with Italian director Sergio Leone. Together they created the groundbreaking Dollars trilogy, A Fistful of Dollars, 1964, For a Few Dollars More, 1965, and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, 1966. These spaghetti westerns introduced the legendary man with no name, a stoic anti-hero whose silent toughness and moral ambiguity fascinated audiences worldwide. Eastwood's portrayal redefined the Western genre, replacing the clean-cut cowboy archetype with a gritty, realistic vision. Through the 1970s and 1980s, Eastwood continued to evolve as both actor and director, starring in numerous critically acclaimed and commercially successful films. In 1971, he introduced another iconic character, Dirty Harry Callahan. In Dirty Harry, this hard-edged San Francisco cop became a symbol of justice carried out beyond the boundaries of bureaucracy, a theme that resonated with audiences facing rising crime and growing distrust of authority. The film's success led to several sequels and firmly established Eastwood as an uncompromising action star. At the same time, Eastwood was steadily building a reputation as one of Hollywood's most respected directors. His directorial debut, Play Misty for Me, 1971, revealed his storytelling instincts and ability to craft emotionally powerful character-driven narratives. Over the years, he helmed some of cinema's most acclaimed works, including Unforgiven, 1992, which won Academy Awards for Best Picture and Best Director, Mystic River, 2003, $1 Million Baby, 2004, and American Sniper, 2014. Unforgiven, in particular, was a turning point, deconstructing the myths of the Old West while offering a sobering reflection on violence, morality, and redemption. With these works, Eastwood reinvented himself and contributed greatly to the evolution of American cinema, earning multiple Oscars, Golden Globes, and a Lifetime Achievement Award from the American Film Institute. Despite such honors, he has remained deeply grounded, known for his stoicism, minimalist style, and quiet dignity. Outside the screen, Eastwood has led a multifaceted life. He served as mayor of Carmel by the Sea, California from 1986 to 1988 and pursued his passion as a jazz musician. He is also a devoted father of 8 and a vocal advocate for environmental conservation. What makes him particularly remarkable is his ability to reinvent himself continuously. While many of his contemporaries faded from relevance, Eastwood remained both relevant and creatively vital. Even in his 90s, he continued to act, direct, and challenge cinematic conventions. His recent work, Cry Macho, 2021, stands as proof of his enduring creative spirit. His career has touched nearly every genre: westerns, thrillers, dramas, war films, and biopics. Leaving an indelible mark across generations, Clint Eastwood's life off-screen has drawn just as much attention as his work on screen. Often described as a modern-day Casanova, he gained a reputation for being irresistibly charismatic and elusive in love. Over the decades, he was romantically linked to a long list of women both inside and outside the entertainment industry. These included actress Anita Loist, glamour icon Mai Van Doren, and stuntwoman dancer Roxanne Tunis. He was also connected with celebrated journalist and food critic Gail Green and briefly involved with French screen legend Catherine Deneuve, a liaison that fueled tabloid speculation. Perhaps his most publicized relationship was with actress Sandra Lockhart, though he was also associated with actress and model Jill Banner, singer Keely Smith, and actress Jamie Rose. Other names linked to Eastwood's romantic history include Inga Stevens, Joanne Harris, Susan St. James, and activist Jean Seaborg. Together, these relationships painted the picture of a man as complex and enigmatic in love as he was in his art. Clint Eastwood was even associated with lesser-known women such as Megan Rose, Jane, Bridget Byrne, and Christina Sandra, the latter of whom became a long-term companion in his later years. Despite his high-profile status, Eastwood often preferred to keep many of these relationships away from the public eye, adding another layer of mystery to his already enigmatic persona. On December 19, 1953, at just 23 years old, Eastwood married Maggie Johnson, a model and secretary he had met on a blind date earlier that year. Their marriage marked the beginning of a significant chapter in his life. Although it appeared to be a conventional union, their relationship was complicated by Eastwood's rising success in Hollywood and the temptations that accompanied fame. Together, they had 2 children, a son, Kyle Eastwood, born in 1968, who went on to become a successful jazz bassist and composer, and a daughter, Allison Eastwood, born in 1972, who later pursued acting and directing. However, Eastwood's extramarital affairs put a heavy strain on their marriage, and after 3 decades together, the couple separated. Their divorce was finalized in 1984 and was reportedly one of the most expensive celebrity settlements of the time, with Johnson receiving an estimated $25 to $30 million. While still legally married to Johnson, Eastwood began a long-term relationship with dancer and stuntwoman Roxanne Tunis, which lasted from 1959 to 1973. Their romance was kept mostly under wraps, but it resulted in the birth of their daughter, Kimber, in 1964. Kimber was raised by Tunis, and Eastwood's paternity was not publicly acknowledged until many years later, when his extended family and personal history came under closer media scrutiny. This relationship highlighted one of the earliest examples of Eastwood's tendency toward maintaining overlapping romances. In 1975, Eastwood began one of the most visible and influential relationships of his life with actress Sandra Locke. Their partnership extended both on and off the screen, with the two starring together in some of Eastwood's most iconic films, including The Outlaw Jose Wales, Every Which Way But Loose, and Sudden Impact. The couple lived together for more than 14 years, and Locke became one of his most prominent companions. However, despite their close professional and romantic ties, Eastwood was reportedly involved with other women during this time and allegedly fathered at least 3 children, fueling later controversies and legal disputes. Their relationship ended in April 1989 in a bitter split, followed by a highly publicized legal battle in which Locke accused him of deceit and professional sabotage. During his years with Locke, Eastwood secretly maintained another relationship with flight attendant Jacelyn Reeves. Their affair, kept hidden for years, produced 2 children, Scott Eastwood, born in 1986, and Catherine Eastwood, born in 1988. For a long time, Reeves raised the children privately, and Clint's paternity was not widely acknowledged until Scott pursued an acting career in the 2000s. Today, Scott Eastwood has become a rising Hollywood star, inheriting his father's rugged charm and career path. While Catherine has explored acting and writing, though she has remained more private than her brother, following his breakup with Locke, Eastwood entered another high-profile relationship with actress Frances Fisher, known for her roles in Titanic and Unforgiven. Their romance began in the early 1990s and lasted several years. In 1993, they welcomed a daughter, Francesca Eastwood, who would go on to become a television personality, actress, and model. Although their relationship eventually ended, Eastwood and Fisher have maintained a cooperative and cordial relationship while raising their daughter. It was not until later in life that Eastwood married again. On March 31, 1996, he wed Dina Ruiz, a former television news anchor, marking his second marriage. Clint Eastwood's marriage to Dana was more conventional and public than many of his earlier relationships. She frequently accompanied him to premieres and high-profile events, a presence that gave their union a certain visibility. Together, they had one daughter, Morgan Eastwood, born in 1996, who from time to time found herself in the media spotlight during her youth. For years, their marriage appeared steady. But in August 2013, Dana revealed that she and Eastwood were living apart. By 2014, their divorce was finalized, closing yet another chapter in the actor's complex and eventful love life. Over the course of his lifetime, Eastwood is known to have fathered at least 8 children with 6 different women, though rumors suggest the number may be higher. Despite the speculation, he has remained largely private, often choosing not to confirm details in interviews or public appearances. This discretion has only added to the mystery surrounding his personal affairs. Even so, he has maintained close ties with many of his children, several of whom have stepped into the entertainment industry themselves. Whatever the complications of his private relationships, Eastwood's legacy as a father, a partner, and a Hollywood icon continues to capture public fascination. By the time he reached 95, Eastwood had become more than an actor. He was a living symbol of American cinema, known for his stoic expression, unyielding toughness, and near-mythical aura. Yet, in a rare, vulnerable confession, he surprised those who believed they knew the man behind the legend. In a quiet moment of reflection, after decades filled with fame, wealth, and a long list of romantic entanglements, he uttered just 9 haunting words. "She was the only one who could do that to me." He was speaking of Sandra Lockhart, the woman who left a mark on him so deep that not even 9 decades of life could erase it. His words carried no bitterness, but rather a profound ache, the kind that comes from revisiting a chapter never truly closed. Locke was more than a co-star in films such as The Outlaw Jose Wales, The Gauntlet, and Bronco Billy. She was his muse, his equal, and perhaps the only woman who truly challenged him both artistically and emotionally. The two first met in 1975 on the set of The Outlaw Jose Wales, and from the moment their eyes met, something shifted in Eastwood. He was no longer simply the cold-eyed gunslinger or the weathered anti-hero. Around her, he was exposed, vulnerable, and at times tender. Their relationship spanned 13 turbulent years marked by fiery passion, creative collaboration, emotional upheaval, and ultimately a very public unraveling. Despite the betrayals, lawsuits, and years of silence, Locke left an imprint that neither time nor success could erase. When Eastwood later admitted, "I couldn't walk after," he wasn't speaking metaphorically about a physical ailment. He meant the emotional paralysis that followed their breakup, a collapse so consuming it brought him to a standstill in a life otherwise defined by constant motion. The man who had thrived on film sets, navigated political interviews, collected awards, and directed Oscar-winning films, confessed that Locke's departure had stopped him cold. To a confidant, he once admitted, "She broke something in me, and I never figured out how to fix it." For a man who had endured Hollywood's crushing demands, survived war, and commanded audiences for 6 decades, it was staggering to realize that he had been brought to his knees not by an adversary, but by love. Eastwood, who had always insisted on control in both his personal and professional life, seemed to relinquish that power in Locke's presence. She was sharp-witted, strong-willed, and razor-tongued, a woman unwilling to remain in his shadow. Unlike others before or after her, Locke demanded to be heard. She saw through the mythology of Clint Eastwood and recognized the vulnerable man beneath. That was her danger to him. She made him feel what he resisted feeling. She made him hesitate. She forced him to question himself. Now, as Eastwood spends his later years in his Carmel estate, surrounded by trophies of a life in cinema, awards, scripts, and portraits, his mind still drifts back to her, not to the scandals or legal battles, not even to the films they made together, but to the private fleeting moments. The way she looked at him when no one else was watching. The laughter they shared between takes. The way she could silence him with a glance or pull something raw and real out of him when the cameras weren't rolling. "She was the only one who could do that to me," he repeated softly, as though saying it again might dull the truth. For a man who had survived nearly a century of war, artistry, change, and romance, Clint Eastwood's most enduring wound was not from a bullet or a betrayal, but from a woman named Sandra Lockhart. At 95, he still carried her memory like a worn photograph tucked away in the pocket of his heart, faded at the edges, but never discarded.